They say no one can change time, but one man did, and then the world forgot him. It began on a cold morning in 1876. The kind of morning where even the trains seemed to groan against the frost. A Scottish-born engineer named Sir Sandford Fleming stood on a railway platform in Canada, staring at a schedule that made no sense. His train, the one he was meant to catch, had already left, but according to his watch, he was on time. He wasn't. Somewhere between one town's local time and another's, an invisible chaos had swallowed an entire train. In that moment, Fleming realized something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Time itself was broken, because in the 19th century, time wasn't global. It wasn't even national. Every city, every town, every village set its own time by the sun. Noon was simply when the sun was highest overhead, which meant that noon in Toronto could be 11:43 in Montreal and 12:18 in Halifax. For railways, the arteries of a new industrial world, it was a disaster. Thousands of trains, thousands of schedules, and not one common clock. Accidents were frequent, missed connections, delayed freight, and even deadly collisions, all caused by confusion over time. It was a world built on progress but running on chaos. Fleming wasn't just an engineer. He was obsessed with order, with the idea that precision could conquer the vastness of a continent. He had helped design Canada's first postage stamp. He had mapped the railways across an empire, and now he wanted to do something no one had ever done before. He wanted to hack time itself. But to understand what Fleming was about to attempt, you have to understand how impossible it sounded in 1876. You couldn't just decide what time it was for the world. Kings had ruled empires, generals had redrawn borders, but no one had ever dared to redraw the very structure of time. Yet Fleming wasn't deterred. Sitting alone in his study one night, surrounded by maps and railway timetables, he imagined a world divided not by cities or countries, but by hours, 24 longitudinal slices of Earth, each one representing a single hour of the day. A universal system, logical, predictable, global. He called it world time, and in his letters you can almost hear the awe in his voice. He wrote, "The division of time should be the same everywhere. It is one planet and one clock." But the world laughed. To politicians, it sounded absurd. To railway barons, it sounded expensive. To scientists, it sounded arrogant. Who was this Canadian engineer to tell the world what time it should be? Still, Fleming didn't stop. He traveled from country to country, from London to Washington, speaking before governments, engineers, astronomers, anyone who would listen. And for nearly a decade, no one did, until 1884. By then, the problem had become too big to ignore. Trains were running faster, telegraphs were flashing across oceans, and trade was booming. But time, the very fabric of civilization, was still a mess. The world needed a fix. So, they called a meeting. In Washington, D.C., diplomats and scientists from 25 nations gathered for what would become known as the International Meridian Conference. Their goal, to choose a single line, one point on Earth, from which all time would flow. And behind that moment, pushing quietly, relentlessly, was Sandford Fleming. For hours, the delegates argued. Paris wanted to be the center of time. So did Berlin. But Fleming's vision, simple, mathematical, universal, began to spread. One planet, 24 time zones, each separated by 15 degrees of longitude. No favoritism, no confusion. At last, a decision was made. The prime meridian would pass through Greenwich, England, and from that invisible line, time would flow east and west, evenly, endlessly. It was the birth of the modern clock. For the first time in history, humanity synchronized. The trains ran on schedule. Telegraphs could calculate exact delivery times. Ships could navigate oceans without arguing over what noon meant. Every city, every country, every continent. Finally, they agreed on something. And yet, the man who made it possible was quietly erased from the story. No grand monument, no national holiday, just a name buried in railway records and engineering journals.
Canada, to whom the world owes the invention of standard time, Mr. Fleming.
Fleming lived long enough to see the world adopt his system, but recognition never came. He died in 1915 in a quiet house in Nova Scotia, still believing that time should belong to everyone. Today, every clock on Earth, every phone, every satellite, every launch countdown and global meeting still runs on his system. Every second of your day passes through his idea, yet his name is forgotten. The world remembers Einstein, who bent time, Newton, who measured it, but not Fleming, the man who organized it. He never commanded an army. He never led a nation. He didn't seek glory. He just wanted the trains to run on time. And in doing so, he gave humanity a shared heartbeat. Now, when you look at your watch, when you check your phone, your clock, your calendar, you're not just looking at the time, you're looking at a map of one man's obsession, a man who refused to let chaos rule the world, a man who believed that order could exist across oceans, across empires, across humanity itself. Sir Sandford Fleming, the man who hacked time and then disappeared inside it.